Hi guys, I'm Ben and welcome to another episode of Epoch of Greatness. On these shows we look at a particularly fruitful period for a band, at least in my eyes anyway, and that can be either commercially, artistically or both. On this episode we're looking at the weird and wonderful world of the Italian underground legends, Bulldozer. So Bulldozer was originally birthed in 1980 by bass player Dario Caria and guitarist Andy Panigata, and soon to be joined by Erminio Galli on drums. However, this lineup would eventually come undone from a combination of Italian national service commitments as well as parental pressure and disapproval on Dario Caria specifically. Sadly, these events and other depression and problem in his life would later lead to his suicide, and the band would eventually pay tribute to their fallen friend, naming their fourth album after his band Neurodeliri and using a drawn picture of him on the album cover. But we'll get to that album later. Bulldozer would actually reform again in 1983, but this time without Dario and Erminio. This time they would bring Dan Andras in on the drums, and the most important man who would become the face and voice of Bulldozer, Mr. Alberto Contini. Stage name, of course, AC Wild. AC Wild would also helm the bass chair and would become a driving force creatively for the band alongside Andy, of course. After recording and releasing the first demo, Fallen Angel, with Dario involved on the production side of things, and mind you, he was only 17 at that time. This is when, of course, the fateful incident with his parents occurred, forcing his permanent removal from the band in any capacity. However, the band was able to shop their new 7-inch around to various labels, and they were subsequently signed to a deal with Roadrunner Records in 1984. And with the production help of Algie Ward of Tank fame, they would record their debut album, the classic proto-metal / thrash beast, 1985's The Day of Wrath.
What the hell, you fuckers? Freak out the motherfuckers. Security Simon, yeah, you wanna cool. I'm still laughing, watching you your first rate and try to move around now. Got all your chain forever. You don't realize the greatest singer. Turn off the light, you hear my breath. Don't joke with me, I'm not a believer. You won't refuse the double lover.
That was very funny because the producer was
Algie Ward.
Algie Ward,
Yes.
yeah, from Tank, and when he arrived in Milano, we had a meeting in the pub, and he drank almost 6 bottles of red wine. He didn't drink any beer; said only Vino Rosso, which means red wine. And after that, we went to a studio, professional studio, and we had very interesting collaboration.
While Bulldozer is essentially a kind of speed thrash band for the most part, they certainly also had a clear first-generation black metal edge to their early material as well. The Day of Wrath in particular shares similar DNA with the inventors themselves, Bathory and Venom. Yet in typical Italian fashion, they also bring their own sense of drama and flair to the music as well. Even at this early stage, when the band was at their most raw and primitive, there is the feeling of theatricality in the music. This, of course, will be further fleshed out on subsequent albums, but there is a wonderful, youthful charm that permeates this album. The rawness and murk and bludgeoning rudimentary attack combined and punctuated with the surprising moments of musicality that are both the icing on the cake and a sign of further growth to come. Algie Ward's production is extremely raw and nasty, but also bass heavy and really powerful. And I think this album sits among the best of this proto-black or dirty end of thrash. You know, for those who are fans of Bathory and Venom, as well as the harsher end of early thrash and speed metal, then I highly recommend this if you haven't heard it. Some of my personal favorite tracks include Cutthroat, Fallen Angel, The Great Deceiver, Whiskey Time, and Welcome Death. But really the whole album is great and an absolute underground classic. Go check it out. So by 1986, Bulldozer once again emerged from the studio and was ready to unleash their sophomore album to the world, The Final Separation.
We made maybe a bad decision to produce this album in a different studio with no LG. And I mean, I like the songs, I like everything of this album, except the production, which is not so powerful like the first one.
Due to the fact that AC Wild had refused to do his national service, he was prevented by the Italian government from getting a passport to travel, which meant Bulldozer were unable to tour for the Day of Wrath outside of Italy, which is, you know, definitely one of the contributing factors for their relative obscurity. The band, however, continued, and their creative energy would not be diminished by these setbacks. With a set of new material for the next album ready, they headed back into the studio to record the follow-up album. However, they made the perhaps bad choice maybe to not use Algie Ward again and to go to a different studio. This resulted in a production that many, including the band themselves, think doesn't live up to the material itself. Personally, I don't think it's as bad as many say, but it definitely is thinner and less powerful sounding overall. However, this in no way is a reflection of the songs themselves. In fact, the material on The Final Separation is as good or even better at times, maybe. The theatrical flair is ramped up somewhat, and the songwriting, while still retaining that primitive proto-black metal, early thrash nastiness and punk attitude, also has a further musical refinement that just makes the music stand out with its own unique personality and character. One thing that many modern metal bands of every subgenre often lack is that memorability factor. Well, that's most certainly not a problem that Bulldozer has here on any of the albums we're going to talk about today. The Final Separation, while thinner sonically, is still a fantastic album that shows the continued evolution of the band into both more speedy thrash directions as well as more melodic depth, as well as introducing even some humor elements. Also, with an album cover like that, it's going to be a badass and fun metal journey. If you love the first album, then I don't see why you wouldn't love this too, unless maybe you're a production nerd who has hissy fits if everything isn't fucking perfect. But some of my favorite tracks are the title track, of course, Hard Ride, Die Fast, Sex Symbols Bullshit, Don't Trust the Saint, and The Death of Gods. Does the production make the sound more like punk than metal at times? Yes. But does the band also explode metal fucking awesomeness all over your face in the form of great songs, killer drumming, and explosive guitars? Also yes. Do I love this album as much as the debut? It's hard to say. Perhaps not quite, but it still rules nonetheless. By 1987, the band was ready once again with their next album, and with new drummer Rob Cabrini and a new Italian record label, Metal Master, on board, the band gave us the rampaging awesomeness known simply as Nine.
What's on the night with these others in the shop? Shows us letting break through the bus into the rock. We could not be back you while we rest in the night. We're burning through the soul and you can see we're just inside. Right! 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 She plays with a bullshit. She left the back because we are exact. She offered the answer. She left my fingers slip any side. Go! Because she's sick of fire with some bug. The words I love the same because they change your mold. She says it's gonna make a revolution to shock the world. It's not a rest, the radio says it's over for love.
The most important fact was that Roadrunner did not take the option.
That was a new label, that's right.
Yeah. So we had to find a new label, and we could find only in Italy, because in Italy our reputation got bigger and bigger. So and a label specialized in dance music decided to invest in metal, and formed a label called the Metal Master. And Bulldozer and Death Assess, for example, signed for that label.
So the final separation saw the band come to some disagreements with Roadrunner Records around the artwork and direction of the band, as well as the label's lack of promotion. This led to the eventual dissolution of that relationship and the need for a new album, a new label, I should say. So Bulldozer soon signed with the Italian label Metal Master, which was a subdivision of a dance music label called Disco Magic, who had decided to, have a crack at metal. On Nine, the band took their sound even deeper into the thrashy speed metal territory, while still confidently straddling the borderline with first wave black metal. The band are noticeably tighter, and the drumming of Rob Cabrini is more propulsive and technically proficient, yet it never gets in the way of the looser side of Bulldozer's sound, and he allows the band to stay very much the wild, unruly force they had always been, just with a more focused and intense heaviness. One of the charming and captivating things that I personally love about Bulldozer is their ability to appear extremely basic and rudimentary on the surface, and yet the way they construct their songs for maximum impact is very smart, and they always juxtapose their rudimentary riffs with explosive playing, especially from the lead guitar. The solos never fail to lift the songs, and they show that while Bulldozer may seem on the border of collapsing into chaos, they actually are in firm control of everything. It lends the music incredible authenticity, as well as giving it a sense of danger and excitement, which is extremely compelling. Lyrically, they once again mix up seriousness and humor. For example, we get the first installment of the Ilona saga with Ilona the Very Best, which is a kind of tongue-in-cheek love letter about the Hungarian/Italian porn star who went into politics and famously offered to have sex with both Saddam Hussein and Osama bin Laden in exchange for peace. Of course, they didn't take up that offer. Then the very next song, in stark contrast to that, the woman-loving of Ilona, launches into a pretty scathing and hilarious attack on women, aptly titled Misogynists. Both songs are musically fantastic and are some of the highlights for me, along with the title track, which is a killer album opener, leaving you no doubt that the band were back and ready to kick ass again. Other standouts for me are Desert, the thrashing power of the Derby and No Way, and the almost Voivodian thrash of The Vision Never Fades. 9 is a powerful example of how expert the band was becoming at seamlessly melding black thrash and speed and even proto death metal into one distinct, powerful and catchy style. A fantastic album, and I highly recommend it. Because of the restrictions placed on AC Wild by the Italian government over those years, the band weren't able to tour nearly enough, and so promoting their albums was virtually impossible outside Italy. However, despite this, 9 did sell quite well in Italy, Poland and Japan, and so the label asked the band for another album, allowing the Bulldozer story to continue. So in 1988, the band, after returning to the studio, gave us their last album from this era, Neurodeliri.
I have to say, in Italy, in Japan too, and in Poland, 9 was quite selling good, and so the label asked to make another album, but unfortunately we realized that Dario, who is the guy painted in this cover, who was the founder of Bulldozer, committed suicide, and we decided to dedicate the album to him and to his band that he formed after Bulldozer. You have to consider one very sad fact. When he recorded the first single, Fallen Angel, with us, he was 17, was not even 18. And when his parents saw the picture of him with tattoos, they said, "You cannot play with Bulldozer anymore." So he had to leave the band, what he created, and that's really sad. And he created another band called the Neurodeliri, with the drummer who was 17 too at that time. Yeah, that's a sad story. So we wanted to make an album, just a tribute album to him and his band.
Around that time, as I mentioned earlier, the founder of the band, Dario Caria, committed suicide. And this had a huge impact on the members of Bulldozer, who still considered him a close friend. As a tribute to their fallen musical brother, they decided to name the new album after Dario's post-Bulldozer band called Neurodeliri. And the album cover itself is a drawn picture of Dario himself. Musically, the band would take even more profound leaps into new territory. They would include samples of classical music, introduce keyboards, and use triggered and programmed drums, which was extremely unusual at that time, especially in metal. AC Wild has gone on to say that he doesn't really like that aspect of metal drumming, which has become so ubiquitous now, but that for them it was an experimentation, and they were likely to be the first to do it in his estimation anyway. The material, while leaning even further into thrash, also leaned further into the theatrical elements, and we get everything from King Diamond-like moments to almost death thrash extremes. We also get the second installment of the Ilona saga with Ilona Has Been Elected, which of course will put a smile on your dial if you have a pulse and a sense of humor. I know Bulldozer fans who hate this album, but I really don't get it at all. I think you still get everything you'd expect from them on this album, just with a few extra flavors thrown in as well. This was actually my introduction to the band, and so it holds a special place for me nostalgically. However, over the years of discovering their earlier albums, I found myself gravitating more to those. That being said though, Neurodeliri has all the things that make Bulldozer great: an adventurous musical spirit, raw driving energy, theatrical song construction, an explosive and exciting playing, and most importantly, the ability to make the songs memorable. All of those essential building blocks of their sounds are present and correct with Neurodeliri. I would even say that for people who like their metal on the weirder and more adventurous side, then this album might be the best place to start for you. I know some metalheads hate anything with keyboards, but I've always found that opinion to be, full-blown retarded. I'm of the opinion that it's not about the instrument, it's about what you do with it, and Bulldozer use everything at their disposal to great effect. Standout tracks are the opening title track, Ilona Has Been Elected, Art of Deception, Impotence and Mors Tua Vita, Mia, Willful Death, You'll Be Recalled, and again, every track kicks huge amounts of ass, and really, I wouldn't skip anything. Neurodeliri was a fitting tribute to their friend and would seem to have been the band's swan song, with their drummer leaving, saying he wanted to move to America, and also due to the shifting tastes in music at the beginning of the 90s. Nobody at that time was really interested in their style of music, with the exception of Italy and Poland, so the band played their last show to around 300 people, and that was it. At least for many years anyway. AC Wild would go on to have a career in Japan, making metal-infused techno rap songs that became huge selling hits over there. Of course, in the West, we never heard them. We heard them, but, they weren't hits. But eventually, he would move away from techno and work more in publishing side of the business. Meanwhile, Bulldozer fans began driving record labels to re-release their classic material, which helped create a sort of groundswell of popular support for the band. In 2007, power metal band Labyrinth brought AC Wild on stage with them to play through some old Bulldozer songs, and the audience response was so overwhelming that it inspired AC to put Bulldozer back together. They have since finally toured the US and also released another full album with the new lineup, which is all great, and I'm very happy for them that they are finally getting the love they deserve. Bulldozer's run of albums in the 80s is near perfection for me, and the fact that they managed to create for themselves such a unique and extremely entertaining and memorable identity is a testament to what a great band they were and still are. Those 4 albums in the 80s are absolute classics, and that's why they are Bulldozer's Epoch of Greatness. Anyway, guys, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Stay metal, and see you next time.